And now we will go through with Matt Cooper, our in-house security and compliance expert, our O6 ISMS policy, which is information security communication plan. All right, Matt, anything of note on this one?
All right, great. Okay, folks. So this speaks to one of the ISO governance requirements. You'll find in section 7.4 communication. It says the organization shall determine the need for internal and external communications, including what to communicate, when to communicate, with whom, who shall do it, and the process by which you will communicate. So what they're saying here is like all of the information security communications that you need to do to manage your ISMS should actually be planned out, which is sort of a weird concept because some of these things we do somewhat ad hoc, though you can allow for that in the plan as well. And so we have a template to structure this for you. And then we have a plan with content, which we put in the form of a table. One of the takeaways here is that all of the detail here is totally up to you to determine. We've just put forward a template on how you might communicate. So some of the sort of standard things you're going to communicate are going to be, training at the time of onboarding and maybe annually thereafter. How are you going to do training? How are you going to communicate that to folks? Another thing that everyone's going to do is some sort of communications around like the management review and communicating, certain things to management during that process. Those are sort of standard things. But then other organizations or, many organizations, you're going to have some sort of communications around incidents or potential incidents. You might have some sort of communications around, like security tips and reminders, things like that. These are kind of generic, but typical communications. You may have additional ongoing communications around security awareness. These are just some examples. Again, what you specifically want to communicate and with whom is up to you. But you need to like define that at least in, at least at a basic level to meet ISO. So if you scroll down, you can see, some of the ideas that we have in here around the topics I just described. And it goes through and it talks about for each communication, what's the content? Is it internal, external? Who's the recipient? Who's the originator? When are you going to do it or how frequently? What's the mechanism you're going to use to do it? And does this need to be approved? So it's really as simple as that. But you want to have something here, at least for the known communications in your ISMS program. And Caitlin, with that, I think that is about it.
Are there any in like where we're notifying externals here, like statement of work or SLAs, anything here of note when we think about
Um,
external facing?
yeah. So like statement of work or confidentiality agreement, that would be potentially an external communication with a contractor, let's say, or a partner. So you may have, specifically confidentiality, right? You may have various requirements to put confidentiality agreements or notices in place with various third parties. That could be contractors. It could also be internal with employees. It could be partners. It could be even customers, right? Where you have a confidentiality agreement. The other place where you're going to typically have external communications would be following some sort of a breach or an incident. Where you're going to have, customer facing communications or communications to a regulator or even communications to a data subject directly, depending upon the nature of the incident or a breach. Those are two, I would say, most common, external communications. Potentially, if you had outside investors, or folks on the board that you want to communicate with, that could be another place where you do it. I think that's like the most typical external ones. If you wanted to get more granular about communications with third-party legal, third-party forensics team, breach response, something like that, there's various use cases. And of course, like I said, regulators could even be law enforcement, right? Like FBI, something like that. You could have a protocol around that as well.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Matt.